Anything good about North, like York, for example? For me, when I think about North, and I think about the good thing is the Yorkshire pudding. I really like it. Does it come
Yeah,
from
I
York?
think that's about as far as it goes, if I'm honest.
Welcome to the ZEN Properties podcast, a podcast about building long-term wealth and cash-flowing businesses through real estate. Dive into interviews with industry legends, content packed with actionable tips and relaxed banter. We are Mac and Maggie Daring. Please enjoy the show. Hi guys, welcome to another ZEN Properties podcast episode. It's absolutely amazing, smashing and delightful to have you here. I'm joined by my amazing wife, Maggie. Maggie, how are you doing?
Hi guys, yeah.
Good to have you here. But most importantly, we have special guests today. So today's guests are the brains behind Central Suites, a co-living legends that's quietly showing the rest of the HMO market how this shit should be done. They take tired houses, strip them out, and turn these ugly spaces into design-led shared homes that young professionals actually want to live in, not just tolerate. Alongside building their own portfolio, they also manage properties for landlords who are fed up with voids, bad tenants, and amateur setups. Please welcome Jack and Rob Jiggins from Central Suites. Boys, it's absolutely smashing to have you here. How are you both doing? Rob, this is first time for you on the podcast. Jack was here before, so let's start with you. Let's quickly introduce yourself and tell us where you're coming from today. And yeah, just a quick intro.
Well, thanks very much for the intro. That was a lovely way to start. But no, thanks very much for having us. As you said, I'm Rob Jiggins. I run Central Suites with my brother Jack, and we are kind of like a property investment company that specialises in HMOs and co-living for young professionals in the home counties. And I'm based in Henley-on-Thames, so that's where I'm tuning in from now.
You're both in Henley?
Yeah.
Wow, so convenient. Jack, for those that didn't listen to your previous podcast, quick intro from you.
Yeah, so Jack Jiggins, co-founder of a few businesses. Today we're discussing Central Suites, but I also run XP Property and XP Surveys, which is on the board behind Rob with my business partner Ben. I don't know what episode that is, Mac. Maybe you can plug that.
It's episode 10 about PDs, and I highly recommend it. It's very technical and beautiful.
Yeah, so across the businesses in Central Suites, we do portfolios to HMOs, and we also flip houses in Central Suites. We also manage most of XP Properties blocks of flats that we finish and HMOs that XP Property finish. XP Property is obviously a development company, and XP Surveys is a surveying business. So fingers in a few pies. But I'm going to be a bystander today. Rob's going to shed all the love.
That's quite rare, I think. Normally, I'm the spectator of Jack.
You think? So you have like a celebrity and spectator thing going on there?
Yeah, he's more the face and the presenter, and I'm probably more the background. And well, you said it, not me.
Cool. Shall we just jump into it, right?
Of course.
So we're going to talk about Central Suites and your core business, right? So focusing today on HMOs. So what did your first property teach you, like the hard way, from your experience?
I mean, I don't know if I don't think anything necessarily hit us hard in terms of learnings. It was more, I would say, a proof of concept. I had a bit of a background in serviced accommodation, so the kind of customer service, the management, the processes side, we had a good idea of what it would be, and Jack came from a lot more of the construction side, so it was more proof of concept, I would say, which was a hard learning, and I suppose you could say, backing your decision and just going for it, which was probably a hard learn. It's not easy to just try it and see. We obviously had exits in place, but that was, I guess, probably our biggest learning, to just go for it and back our confidence, and then go from there.
So why did you decide to go into HMOs if you have already been doing Airbnbs?
I mean, Airbnbs, as I'm sure you and a lot of your listeners would know, are very time intensive. They're by the night, so they come with their own challenges, but also own upsides. So it was something that Jack and I were looking to build long term, bit more of a because obviously, well, hopefully we'll be in business forever together. So we were looking for something that we can lean back on in the future. When we're old and bored of investing and want to sit back and do other things, it's something that will just keep paying us in the future. So it kind of was the fusion of construction and flips and not straight up buy to lets, but then also I think the SA gives you a good lean into managing high end HMOs and having that more streamlined business process
But do you still have
adaptation.
Airbnbs, like service accommodation units, or is it just HMOs and Resi now?
I mean, we dabble, to be fair. In the odd occasion, we try to not get shiny penny in central suites because although we have the capacity to do it, and this when you see the upsides of it, when you've had experience in it, it's very hard to not think, well, we could Airbnb that. But we definitely keep it as an avenue and stack things based on it. But yeah, I mean, we do lean into it every now and then. Like if we've got a house going through planning, like we had a house in Henley that was a 3-bed, converted it. But whilst it was going through planning, we Airbnb'd it and it did really well. So it's kind of hard to not. But I think you either need to commit and go for it, and then either structure yourself in a way that you are considerate of the VAT, or you're just fully in it and you make it your bread and butter and you just go for it. So we do every now and then, and I think we may well have some in the future, but at the moment we're just focusing on HMOs and high-end HMOs.
Rob, last time we had a chat about like on XP surveys event, we had a chat about the VAT and stuff, and I think we cracked it.
I think we cracked
I
it.
think
Nice.
we cracked it.
Yeah.
So like a few consultations down the line, like several £1,000 down the drain for the consultancy. I think we have a conclusion about how to approach the SA business.
Cracked it, but there's still a lot of work involved there. So as you say, a lot of it's high maintenance,
Just like you.
consuming.
Okay, so guys, we quickly looked at your website. Well done on your social presence and everything that you do. It looks very lean and very, very beautiful, to be honest. It's very inspiring. So online, everything looks absolutely smashing. But is everything so smashing, or is there anything that actually sucks in the back end that you would rather not do?
But what sucks? I mean, it's just spinning a lot of plates, I'd say, because I would say we're quite lean in terms of team, and we do everything in house. It is spinning lots of plates, and I think just I mean, you can systemize, you can put in processes, you can automate, you can use great tools to stop these things from happening, but the firefighting is always going to be there, and you're always going to have something come up. Either a refinance pushback, a valuation coming low, or just loads of things come up. So I think it's the firefighting, which is the sucky part. And obviously, managing properties, you do get some unlucky situations, which is pretty crap. But you can't really do anything about it. You just got to roll the punches and keep going. I don't know if you would agree, Jack. But is there any other sucky things that you could think of?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with my camera. It keeps readjusting its quality. But anyway, so obviously the challenges that run with HMOs is you're dealing with emotional purchases, right? It's someone's home, so if you have tenant disputes, you can't control someone else's other actions. So if you've got tenants that don't get on, then that's probably more of a problem. And I think that's probably the biggest sort of can of worms in any rental business, because when you have a commercial view on things. To give you an example, Rob talking about valuations coming in lower. We recently had a HMO where the valuation came in at 560 and I think it's worth 700. But that's a commercial decision that we either plug the gap and take the mortgage and take that product. We either port to a different product. But if you have two tenants that are in dispute, you've got to manage that quite professionally and legally as well as considering people's feelings. So, as I said, that's probably the biggest challenge in any portfolio management. And that's actually the reason we moved into HMOs, because it's slower burn. So if the heating's switched off and you have an Airbnb tenant, they won't pay you the rent for that night. Whereas a HMO, you have a little bit more of a bandwidth to deal with things in your own time during working hours. We found sort of service accommodation very antisocial, in the sense that you always have to be there on call, checking people in, checking in on them. And there's certain ways that in HMO portfolio you can. My camera keeps going out, and I don't know why.
Jack, you're so good looking. Even out of focus, it still looks amazing.
Thank you, mate. Out of focus maybe dilutes it a bit, so it maybe look better. But yeah, so we liked the fact that it gives you more breathing space and time to deal with people's payment of the service, right? So I would say the hardest thing about HMO management is about HMO business is dealing with tenant management, which is fortunately Rob's job, really.
Yeah,
For
so
me.
thinking about the roles, guys. So how do you split the roles, and who would deal with the emotional side of things of the business and sort of the rest of it?
I guess that, yeah, I would lean into more. I kind of do the management kind of operations, and then Jack's more focused on the acquisitions, and I guess finance. I mean, if you break it down, and we kind of both fuse on marketing. Yeah, I mean, I deal with the running of it day to day, because obviously Jack's got a few other projects, businesses going on. So I more deal with the day to day, and it's what I'm in full time. So it's yeah, I guess the emotional stuff falls on me, and I've done because we started from one house and we managed in house from day one. I've done everything in the management side, and all the operations, and built the systems for that. So yeah, I guess it's me that deals with that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm. And what is it like to run like a family run business? Because obviously two brothers, and do you ever get any glitches?
Well,
you don't obviously involve your wives in it, because that would become really messy.
They do actually. Bless them, they do actually help the wives every now and then if we need a property furnishing or staging or cleaning.
Your wives, they actually help you in your business? Because I'm not sure about mine.
Unpaid, Mac. They just get roped into the big push of if we're furnishing a house or we need to shoot it, or my wife sometimes just sat in the car while I'm doing the rounds. But no, I think when it comes to partnership, obviously me and Ben have been on the podcast before. There's a few things that are integral to a successful partnership. Trust is one of I think the most important, and then you've got resource. So what skill sets people bring to the table. It doesn't necessarily have to be opposing, but it helps. You get more scale, and it clicks better if you have opposing skills. And then work ethic as well. So if the trust, which is why it's so common you see other businesses in families, because the trust point, you don't have to worry about people cutting corners, pinching a bit of equipment or kit or furniture here and there. I think that trust point is negated from the outset. And also it's double benefit that you're bringing value back into the family, rather than, necessarily being too concerned about, is this fairly weighted? It's a lot more relaxed in that respect. We don't really have many disagreements, but there's definitely sort of brothers tiffs, where you just sort of have a little bit of an argument, but never anything major.
Brothers tits.
Amazing.
Yeah, I wouldn't say we argue, to be fair. I would say when you're so busy, you almost don't really have time to bother arguing. Like if one of us is strongly opinionated on the other thing, you just kind of think, why would they be so opinionated on it? And you just think, yeah, go with it. I don't think we ever really argue emotionally. I think it's more just discussion and then move on.
Yeah, I love it. It sounds like you're very much aligned as a sort of character-wise, which is great. Good, yeah.
Yeah, good dynamics. So how many people in the team do you have? And Rob, like you said that you're busy, it means that how many rooms do you manage?
Um, so I mean, we grew to it's about 150,
Oh my.
and then we've a mixture of owned, rent to rent, managed, and we've slowly been handing back rent to rents. So we've replaced those with owned and managed. So it will be just a blend of owned and managed, just so we can have full control, really, or mitigating risk. So we've stayed at that to just kind of balance and steady the ship. Um, so yeah, we have 150 rooms, we call it, like lettable, almost like a lettable door. Like we consider a 6, 7 bed as six lettable units. So yeah, and then we've got Dawn and Jay who work within the management, purely in the management, like estate management, lettings, operations. And then we've got two guys that have joined us that work on and off, but consistently a day a week with us. Two uni grads, well, to be grads, and they work with us. At the moment, doing acquisitions and delivery. So it works pretty
Right.
well. We've got everything
So,
covered.
okay, so two people, two team members running the management side, and then the
Yeah,
other two on and off, and you two.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's
then
it.
6 of
two,
us.
and then
That's
two
it. So
interns.
that's enough to manage all the ASTs, all the contracts, all the disputes. How about the maintenance?
Do you outsource anything, guys?
Pretty much.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah. So we're I think we're about over 800k in revenue, in rent revenue, and we also flip houses, which props that up significantly more. But yeah, quite a lean outfit for what we do. And then obviously Central Suites also manages the blocks of flats that we have in XP, like a lettings agent. We actually don't really manage many other people's properties. Even we have a portfolio building product where we basically are the delivery, an investor comes in and we collaborate with them to grow them a portfolio. But even then we co-own that portfolio with them. But yeah, pretty lean, and we're all across Oxfordshire. So we keep location wise, we've been very stringent on not drifting to different counties. So we're location wise, we're quite dialed down.
So what do you outsource, guys, that you think is invaluable and
Everything.
a lot of work?
Bookkeeping,
What are you
cleaning,
actually doing that you...
maintenance, construction.
Yeah.
We outsource it all.
Okay, so you just do the core planning and sort of financial, like...
Yeah, I mean, the beauty of a rent roll service-based business is you can make decisions every month moving forwards. The decisions that we'll have in XP Property, where we might go from 335 million in delivery down to 20 million in delivery, up to 15 million in delivery, you need to resource plan ahead of actually needing resource. But the beauty of our business is, whether we're the same team or a different team next month, the revenue is very similar, the projects are very similar, the workloads are very similar, and you can tweak that engine to fine tune it a lot easier. And you're not bolting on huge amounts of resource planning. That then you get the benefit from an in-house or out-house perspective, that if our cleaning, let's say we spend about 100 grand on cleaning a year, we can then come to a decision, do we bring that in-house? The reason we haven't brought that in-house is if we had two cleaners on permanently and one of them's off, you then don't keep up with the existing workload. So we pay extra to have 3 different businesses that service us. And if one business lets us down, we've got the beauty of being able to pivot to another. So I would have said that we're more focused on growth in assets than efficiency in profit margin. Obviously, that will come in time. But yeah, we pretty much outsource everything.
Beautiful.
No, it's an amazing place to be in.
Yeah, I wanted to comment on...
I cannot wait for that to happen.
Same. So we're on the same journey, right? So
Yeah,
we'll
I
be
mean,
like dying.
we do get our hands dirty, obviously. And it's not like we work hard to do what we do. It's very demanding, and actually, if we stopped growing, it would be probably quite easy to run, and then we'd maybe consider bringing more things in house. But at the moment, we want to build our asset base, which is the whole point of a HMO portfolio. It's great for growth, and that was a sort of business plan at the outset.
Do you have your end goal in mind? I know you love growing and Obviously we've been watching you guys investing a lot, and
Stalkers.
but yeah, in your head, do you have your kind of sort of end goal in terms of how many years you want to do it, in terms of the actual value of your portfolio, or do you just want to sort of carry on and see how you get on with it?
I mean, yeah, I might as well
What's
take
your
this one. I
plan?
don't think we'd. I think there's no time frame on it. I think we will just review it every sort of 5, 10 years. But I know Jack always um, coins the 1,000 rooms, which I do agree with. I think that would be nice, but it's not necessarily. It's kind of just to build that almost pension pot to live off, so we don't have to
Okay.
worry about everything in the future. Obviously, if we can take away as many stresses as possible for future Rob and Jack, then that'd be
Hmm.
great. But yeah, I
So
think a
you don't want to
thousand beds,
bugger
if
off.
to put a figure on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just wondering because some people just want to bugger off to like a tropical island, in a few years' time, and that's the aim. But it sounds like for you, it's a bit of a longer sort of growth, which is great as well, right? More wealth. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, cool.
I think also from like especially um, what we create. I think it's really nice the product that we create for young professionals when they move in, and they love it. So you do get that like kickback from that. So you do get little wins along the way, and it's nice to see them like creating friends and friendships and moving in with other tenants into flats and things like that. So that's obviously the wins that you get along the journey. So it's no sort of numerical goal that we're aiming for. I think we just both like what we're doing. So it's
Yeah.
kind of just
I,
picking a figure.
I think one slightly unique thing about our HMO portfolio and our goal plans is most of our HMOs are valued on a bricks and mortar valuation because they're not sui generis big investment lumps that we keep re-gearing, as Mac would say, the tits off of them. But the I think what we always envisaged is scale and growth. So our return on cash is really high in our business because we're in a high cash flow business model. Aim to get to 1,000 beds. If we get bored of managing or don't have the right people and resource to keep managing them, it's becoming a point where we're late 40s, early 50s, and we're thinking this is such a noisy business. We have the benefit that we can actually convert most of our HMOs back to single let family homes, which is, in my opinion, is the highest demand asset in the UK. And we could then run a very low intensity business with a big asset base. But to get there, we've scaled with HMO room lets with a high return on cash. So we may run a HMO portfolio until we hand it down or die. But my view has always been we could always simplify it once we finish the growing part. And we're now starting to get to the time frame. We set up the business almost 8 years ago, where the refinances from the first early projects are coming in with lump sums, so we can be a bit more. I don't really think I'd ever pay down leverage on HMOs, but reduce the noisiness of the business. Maybe bring in a middle management team to then take our roles on, so that we're very passive, or whether we convert a lot of our HMOs back to single lets because the bricks and mortar valuation on our balance sheet is the same. There's a lot of HMO portfolios
But
out
Jack,
there
just a
that are
quick one
valued.
here. Like, why would you ever consider converting your high cash flowing HMOs back to single lets if you have a team running it for you and it's really not noisy for you at this point?
So the operational cost to manage HMOs is about 20%. So your markup on rent is then dented by that additional cost. So like serviced accommodation, you get much more revenue, you have much higher costs. And actually, coincidentally, it's all linear to the noisiness of the business. So if we converted all of our, let's assume we got 1,000 beds, which is 250 properties. If we converted all of them back into single lets, yes, our revenue would take a hit, but our costs would massively reduce because we wouldn't be swallowing all of the running costs, the council tax. So the margin is similar, but the operational costs come down. So we'd probably go from, let's say we assume we did it now with our business and our revenue's 750, but our costs are 250k higher. We'd make a similar margin within reason, for the amount of time invested, and that's easier to manage. So I mean, it's a decision to have in the future, but it's a consideration that we've built the business off.
That's quite shocking, to be honest. Well, I like the plan. I like the sound of it. So the question is now, like, why won't you start doing resi to resi or commercial to resi? Because you already do it in XP, right? Like commercial conversions. We've had this chat like in episode 10 around the PD and stuff. But if HMO and single family homes, they give you the same margin, the same amount of money or similar amount of money that you keep, all things considered, plus less noise, plus it's easier to manage. Why won't you just do that? Like buy shitholes and like add value and still keep it as a single lets?
Yeah, so one of the reasons that Central Suites hasn't ventured into larger projects, the way I always see all of our projects, and Rob mentioned I work in acquisitions in both XP Property and in Central Suites, I almost see anything above 2 units as XP Property and anything below that is Central Suites. And the reason being, we don't have anyone technical in Central Suites. We don't have any building surveying background, Rick's Charter project manager, quantity surveyor, design, none of that. So it's really, we're basically house bashing, and we've found a knack to it, and there's less technical stuff that you need to overcome. The real complexity we have is finding the asset that where the numbers commercially work, and then it is a very straightforward fit out. You know, we're not having to improve the fabric of the building. We're not having to acoustic and fire separate units. We're not having to deal with complicated building control applications. A lot of it is under PD, fairly straightforward and quite quick. Most of our projects turn around within 5 to 6 months in construction. Therefore, it makes it extremely scalable, and it's also quite easy for us to manage those projects. So if we did move into commercial conversions, either Rob and I have to have time to deliver that, or we have to bring someone in on a 50 to 70k plus salary, which then you need to feed more into the engine. So that's why we're quite lean, because there's no one technical there to do it that has 5 days a week. So we either resource up and scale, or we just scale out the consistency that we are. So it's a simple process is the answer, Mac.
Okay.
And less expenditure, right? In terms of the team setup and all that.
Yeah, totally. I'm just like asking because there are like tons of people like Maggie and I that want to like get deeper into property. So we do it just for a few years. We're like good several years behind you too, I guess. And now like we've done buy-to-lets, it still works. Like in Northamptonshire, Midlands, it works beautifully. There is no problems with buy-to-lets here, right? Like the yield is there, it's working. We've done commercial conversions, and that's like great, but it's time consuming. There is no chance that we'll be able to complete it in 5 or 6 months. It takes 18 months, right? Like from start to finish to refinance to everything. It takes 18 months, like on average, I would say. And then we start doing HMOs. So do we still want to do HMOs after having a chat with the boys, or shall we stick to residential single family lets?
I do want to keep doing HMOs, right? Because it's all about scaling it, right? And it sounds like it's all about finding the sweet spot in terms of the size of the business, in terms of the expenditure level, right?
Yeah.
And complexity. It's not just about what you're doing, but like how much input how big your team is.
Guys, how about the risk? Like if you have a single family let and the tenant stops paying you money, you have no income, right? If you have 6-bedroom HMO and one tenant stops paying you money, you still have income from that asset. Does that make any?
Dilute the risk. Yeah. Another thing we like about the HMO model is if you look at our developments and we're focusing on a 30% return on cash investment, you have to find it, take the risk of acquiring it, find an investor, which isn't always easy, take the planning risk on it, take the construction risk on it, and take the market risk on it. If you do a HMO, like our first HMO that we delivered, it's paying us 30% return on cash every year without having to take all of those segmental risks.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the gift that keeps on giving. So that's why we love that model. And exactly like you say, out of our 150 rooms, if we have, we never have had, if we had 5% voids, it wouldn't really hurt us. We'd still be growing our business. So it dilutes that risk. And there's huge demand of where we operate as well.
That's a very good stat. So guys, like how many percent of voids do you have? And how many really like problematic tenants do you have? What do you do to keep your tenants? What is your like screening process? How do you find those people? How do you reduce the voids? Because like this all like little things, right? Like that's what actually contributes massively to your bottom line, right? So if 80% works and 20% doesn't, then this 20% comes from your bottom line, if that's your margin, right? And you have like what margin, like 30% or something running the HMOs. So how do you maximize those margins by keeping tenants in place, happy, and minimizing voids?
So actually, talking about voids, I actually did a 5-year review of the very first house that we bought, which was a 4-bed, and I wanted to just look at, because when we're obviously looking at valuations, and banks banks just put in an automatic 5% void rate, typically, to just work out what the deal is like, and obviously look at cash flow and all that sort of stuff and valuations. And I looked at, in our team review, just what the actual true void rate of that house was, and it was 1.24 or something, wasn't it, Jack? Which is
Nice.
of that first house. That's literally every day considered. And because obviously we manage everything in house, we can get the cleaning team the day after the new tenant, the morning after that tenant moves out, and get the next tenant moved in, and kind of, because it like on the other occasion we need doing on the weekend, or to get one of the teams do it during the week, or that movement can be so much closer. And I just wanted to see what it looks like across 5 years. And obviously it's a 1.25% void rate compared to a 5%. I can't remember what the exact saving was, but I think it was something like £41,000 if you looked at the total cash flow.
Saving versus the predictions. So you've managed better than you predicted you would by a big margin. And that's where the saving comes
in terms of rent saved. And if you look at obviously that across all of the rooms, I think it just makes when you're so hot on the voids and it's actually pinching out of your pocket, and you're managing it in house, because we know, like I've worked with some lettings agents that will just immediately just allocate a week for a room turnover, and you just think that stacked across 150 beds is a killer, really. So that's why we obviously like managing in house, but it obviously comes with its ups and downs. But like, just even if you just look at void rate, it's when you're managing in house, you can be a lot more like, it's a bit like you guys. If you had a room, if you had a flat in prime London and you had an orphan night, you would actually break your neck to try and get that relet. If someone pulled out, or if someone cancelled, or for whatever reason, you'd break your neck to then redo it, relet it. And it's the same with us, in terms of voids and management across the board, really. But I think that's one thing that is really is one of our strong points, in terms of voids.
What's your process like? Because you're so lean, but you're not small. You're quite big when it comes to the size of your portfolio. How do you manage it when you see that you're going to have a void? Someone has smashed you with like a, what do you call that? It's not a resignation, a notice. And how do you advertise? Like, do you put it like back on a spare room? Is it you? Is that your team? What if you have 20 ASTs coming to an end at the same time? How do you manage the staff? How do you screen those people? Do you put insurance on the rents? How does all this work from a process side? It's all like very practical and real questions here. So tell me through, talk me through the process.
As soon as someone, we've obviously tweaked the process, but our process at the moment, we use Monday.com, which is really good for the kind of the back end management. As soon as someone issues notice, we then send them a form. So it comes into the tenant onboarding or checkout form. So they'll then fill it out, which has all the information about. We put all the critical information on it that benefit them for when they leave, like bank details for deposit and all that sort of stuff, and we get them to just commit to a date. We say that we can move it if needed, but they're committed to the date, which is critical, really, because then we can obviously book for ideally the day after the checkout, whether it is inventory check or if anything he's doing. we will then get them to try and report those before we actually go in and inspect it. So they're kind of given a
Rob,
grace period.
your audio is a bit crunchy.
Is
Thankfully,
it?
the audio is being recorded locally on his computer, so hopefully
Oh,
it's
cool,
better
cool,
on his
Okay.
cool.
side.
Sorry. Yeah, carry on.
So when they issue the notice, they're then given a bit of a grace period to report anything. And we're obviously doing quarterly checks and things like that. So it's kind of just picking up problems before they come. So they'll fill out the form. We'll then get it re-advertised on predominantly spare rooms. That's where we let most of our rooms. We do have again, another Monday form. Anyone that's looking for a room, we get them to fill out our interest form, and then we just assign it by location. So we'll, at any one time, we'll have loads of inquiries for specific people. We have all of their details, like what their budget is, what they're specifically looking for, when they need to move in, contact details, all that sort of stuff. So as soon as a room's coming to hit the market or available in 2 months, we'll then hit that list and say, look, we've got a room coming in this location. It's within your requirements. Do you want to come and take a look? Before doing that, we have Matterport virtual tours, which is thankfully done by Jack's development company, measured surveying company called XP Surveys. So we have Matterport tours of all of the rooms, all of the houses, videos, everything. So as soon as a room is, we're aware that it's becoming available by a tenant issuing notice, we can hit a list of people that is within their requirements. We can send them all the virtual tours. We can send them the videos, and you just get a good few people, whether it's
We have a list of
3,
people
10.
waiting where you understand their backgrounds and you want to like bolt them into the existing HMO where there is a high likeliness of them being happy in that environment, in that community.
Yeah.
So we are not like matching students with young professionals, for example, right?
No. Yeah, that's one thing that I think we're actually really good at, is putting the right people in the right houses. So we don't I mean, age does come into it, but we like to say there's a similar stage of their life, because you could have people at different ages but a similar stage of their life. But typically the large proportion of our HMOs are tailored to someone that's just come out of uni right up to, I would say, mid-30s, late 30s, that's looking for an affordable option that's high end. It's minimum fuss. There's nothing to worry about. You basically just move in, you're done. And it's got all furniture included. Everything's done. All bills are included. So I think that's our kind of bread and butter tenant. And then we tailor different people to, like, as soon as a room's becoming available and you know that you've done a viewing with someone down the road a week ago, our team's really good at thinking, actually, that person's perfect for that. And then we'll kind of give them almost an exclusive option to come and view it, because they've signed up with us and they've viewed a property with us before. We'll give them almost an exclusive look at it before it goes to market. And then it's done kind of giving the trickle down of filling rooms before they're an issue. If that makes sense. I think it's just being proactive on it.
How do you advertise your rooms? I haven't missed it.
Spare room.
Yeah,
Sorry.
mostly spare room, to be fair. No, I mean, it's and Coho is, shout out to Coho, is like, I would say, a co-living management tool that also has been building and has a advertising platform within it, which is really good because you can kind of see character types and interests of existing tenants. So when that hopefully overtakes spare room, I can imagine a large proportion of the market using that. But yeah, spare room just have such a good stronghold on it.
How about the screening and just having a chat in person? Do you outsource it or do you do it yourself?
That's one thing that we have never outsourced, and I don't think we should, to be honest, because I think your gut feeling when you meet someone stands a long way, because I feel like in terms of the whole bad tenant, good tenant situation, you can have a bad tenant that still pays rent, that's a bad egg or a bad apple, and you can have a good tenant that's in up against hard times. So, and I feel like you can only really gauge that when you have good communication with a tenant.
I think this is the hardest part of the job because we've often,
Hardest part is something else.
because everyone would have a different gut feeling about someone else's character. Because we've had that dispute before, and I said to Mac, I just don't know. I'm going for a no, and he's like,
bad gut feeling.
And he's like, I've got an amazing feeling about this person. I'm like, I've got the opposite feeling about this person. And I think this is just such a key element.
It is, isn't it? So even now, like we had a tenant in our new conversion that stopped paying for 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks.
And I said from the very beginning, he's noisy, he's just talking too much.
Hope he doesn't listen.
He's going to be so much trouble.
Well, he's not paying you rent back.
We might cut out. No, but this is just like a pure example of how do you source your tenants, right? Because you really want them to stay for as long as possible. You don't want to, keep changing a tenant every 6 months or a year even.
Yeah, how they introduce the landlords, right? So now we have the renters' rights, right? So you cannot evict the tenant. So hopefully it will be like flipped. So the tenant cannot leave. How awesome would that be?
I do think it's really hard, to be fair. I mean, it's a bit like, not that I've been in the dating scene for a while, but it's a bit like dating. Like someone can sell themselves really well, and you've just got to try and see through that. And if you've only got 20 minutes with someone, it's really difficult. So obviously we do all our referencing and we've got all of that in the background to just see if there's any hard evidence why they're not a good fit. But it is just gut feeling, really. And I think that is one thing that we always get as feedback, which is really good. It's putting the right people in, and it's difficult when you think there's someone that's a really good fit for the house, but they can't move in for 3 weeks. So it's difficult because then it's basically just a process of trying to either bring them forward because you think they're going to be a really good fit for the house, or just coming up with some creative way that you can do it. But yeah, realistically, it's better to have a good group of tenants that get along rather than just whoever's the highest bidder.
I've got one more question there. Sorry, before we move on, you mentioned dating and you mentioned the group age. You mentioned that you're sort of aiming.
She's on the market for a date.
Post, anyone out of uni, and obviously they're still quite young. And how do you manage the roles in your house and the fact that obviously with a few rooms in place and people inviting someone over, having some couples maybe, or someone saying, I'm going to live on my own, but obviously they might be seeing someone. How do you manage? Do you ever get any issues in that kind of area?
This episode is brought to you by ZEN Properties, where we turn stress into success and bricks into passive income. We develop, convert, and add serious value to property projects across the UK, from HMOs to serviced accommodation. If you're a private investor looking for a solid return, we offer 11 to 15% annual interest, fully assets backed, and with all legal costs on us. And if your business wants to get in front of a fast-growing property audience, you can sponsor an episode just like this one. Find us on zenproperties.uk.
I mean, not necessarily. First of all, the rest of the house, you've also got to remember they don't actually know each other. So if someone's abusing the rules and they're paying premium rent for a room, they're the first people to say, because they're like, it's impacting me. And we say that obviously there's a license on the house and you can't legally have more than whatever the license states. But if everyone else is happy, we're happy. We'd rather them sort it out between them. And obviously if you've got a house with a shared bathroom between 3 tenants, it's extremely unfair for one person to have guests over all the time, and it's impacting the work schedules of other people or whatever. But we would rather let them sort it out themselves. And if we need to step in, we will. But from a compliance side, obviously we do everything that we need to, but realistically everyone's adults, and we'd rather have someone that then just says, look, I've got some friends coming over. Can we just use the living room for now or whatever? And like the house that we've got in Henley on Thames, I went there the other day and they do like it was one of their birthdays and they were just like, look, I've got a couple of friends I'd like to have over for my birthday. Um,
Oh, that's
is
fine.
everyone
Yeah,
okay with that?
yeah, it's more of a
Can you
one-off.
guys
But
bring tenants? Can you guys bring friends and we'll have a good like gathering with all of us? And it's just we'd rather that side of it. Everyone just be open and communicative. Otherwise, it's just you get people keyboard worrying and arguing, and you have to step in and deal with everything. It's better off letting them sort it out. And then if you have to step in, you have to step in.
yeah, cool.
Yeah. Okay. So just to recap. So guys, two of you, small team, lean, HMOs. Jack's doing acquisition. You're targeting small-ish assets, no sui generis. So 5-6 bedroom converted to like 3-4 bedroom.
We do some SUI, but when we bid on stuff, it's only based on the permitted development that we can achieve. If we get the SUI approval, we'll do it. Why not? But it's a small percentage of our portfolio.
But how can you use permitted development for sui generis? For HMO?
So all of our assets we're buying up to 6 beds. Every area that we operate in is not Article 4 area. That's also intentional. So we can buy any house pretty much within reason, without restricted covenants. And obviously there's no Article 4, so we can convert every house up to a 6 bed. If we can accommodate to go beyond that, we may submit a planning application to do so, but our numbers are based on 6 beds or less. So we are protecting the downside of our acquisition process. We have a few SUI generous HMOs now. We're not massive fans of investment valuations and trying to re-gear everything so much that you take a little bit of, I believe, gearing risk, because when you re-gear on rents, and if rents drop because a place gets saturated, which is quite common, you are then in negative equity and you've done the counterintuitive long-term approach. So yeah, mostly 6 beds, but we still do SUI applications.
Amazing, good tips there. So you prefer brick and mortar valuation to commercial valuation. Brick and mortar is based on brick and mortar. Commercial is based on the rental income. If rental income drops because of oversaturation, you're fucked. Now, Rob, you are running the management side of the business with just one person full-time and 2 people part-time and 2 of you, which is absolute madness. A quick bonus question here.
Yeah, sorry, I was just going to say, so two people full-time in the management, and then also me, and then two guys that we've got a day a week, so part-time. So there's 6 of us in total.
It's still super lean. So yeah, quite impressive. Do you use rent insurance?
No. We don't. No, we don't. I mean, yeah, like I said, we've gone down the whole process of if you're proactive, and obviously it's in-house. I think if we were getting it managed by someone else, we might consider it, but we've never needed to.
So what happens when you have to go through, down the legal route of, dealing with someone to evict? Would you do that?
Again, or? Yeah, it's communication.
Looking all like, ready to punch someone in the face.
It's just communication. I think we've obviously had some situations in the past where we've had to, if we want to do works on the house or people aren't just getting on.
You've got 150 rooms. You're not going to tell me that you didn't have one legal, hard
we have
situation when someone just said, I'm not moving out.
Yeah, like we've had people not paying rent.
Yeah.
No, we haven't actually been to court. But obviously we've had a handful of Section 21s needed where people have not paid rent or people aren't just getting along, and it's causing friction, and we need we obviously have those, but I do think it's a communication thing. Realistically, everyone.
Rob, like in your opinion, is it easier to evict a HMO tenant or like a normal residential single home let AST tenant?
I would say an HMO tenant, because I feel like you have more control, and in terms of access, it's easier, and you have like if one tenant is bad, you have. I say bad, I mean being unfair and going against what they're contractually obliged to do, like take care of the house and all that sort of stuff. You have other people within the house that are it's impacting their life, so they're well very keen to provide evidence and help, because ultimately everyone wants the same thing. When you've got
Mhm.
someone that's being really difficult, so I would say HMO, to be honest. With a single let,
And I
it's
agree.
even if
Also
you
pressure.
like,
You
they
know
could
what?
just
I
refuse
agree.
Yeah.
access.
100%, because with resi and buy to let, you've got a family or three guys saying, we cannot afford rent anymore, but we have nowhere to go. So otherwise, we're going to be homeless. We are protected by the council. We're not moving out.
Yeah, and the council says, what does council say? Stay
And
put.
then
Like stay.
the council says, stay put. These are your rights. Stay put. If you don't have the money, don't pay.
Don't go anywhere.
And so looking at the stats, you've got 150 rooms, HMO rooms. We've had just a couple of resis, and
Yeah.
we've had the worst experience and the most stressful legal process of
Well,
trying
there you go.
to.
Now you have rent insurance on all the resi assets, and HMO
We
will.
don't, right? We
But
don't have it.
HMO versus resi, I would argue.
With some of the rooms, you didn't have one extremely stressful eviction, and we only had two resis, and we've had the worst nightmare of our life.
True.
So this is
We
just
did. We did. To be
maybe
fair,
we're
we had
very
one
unlucky.
house. Yeah,
Sorry?
that is. It sounds unlucky. We did have one house where
Yeah.
we actually bought it with tenants in situ, and that was quite a challenge. But yeah, like I mean, realistically, it's if you can like offer things in certain ways that is actually a no-brainer for them, like help pay for their moving costs and give them their deposit up front so they can use it for
Oh,
the
yeah,
next
yeah.
place and
Yeah,
things
we've
like
tried
that.
everything.
Yeah, we try to bribe
So
them.
We've tried everything, but I with HMOs, I think what you said, the key is that it's just one room, right? So you can leverage that,
But
and
now,
exposure is different.
yeah, but a quick thought, like when you bribe your bad tenants and you want them to help them move, maybe they are not like financially focused. Maybe you need to offer them narcotics and prostitutes instead.
Well, hopefully not if
did not
if you
expect you to
chose
say
them, right?
that.
Okay, guys, let's move on. So let's like target your tenants and your competition. How do you stay on top of your competition? Why do you think your portfolio is better? Do you value yourself above the competition when it comes to the prices? And how is it reflected in your design, quality of finishes, what you put in the house? How do you appeal to those people?
I would say right from the offset, and also kind of like the feedback loop of speaking to tenants and going to houses and finding um, being a designer has been yeah definitely sort of our USP, and I wouldn't say USP, but in terms of the areas that we operate in, I think it definitely is our strongest point because
So the
because we
design is
obviously
your
go back to
strongest
brick.
point.
I mean, going back to brick, we can basically tailor the house however we see fit for that specific use. So a group of sharers will change it in a way that is like we won't try and squeeze in as much as possible just to make sure it's got as many rooms as possible. We'll then I think we're quite good at making it the most efficient use of a house. So it kind of pushes tenants into conversing with other tenants, so it's not segregated off. We think of like the use of, for example, having like a washer dryer and a washing machine or a tumble dryer separately, like in a 7 bed that we're doing at the moment. We've got a washer dryer, so someone can then who works all day stick a load in the washing machine, and it'll be dry by the time they come back. And then we have a separate washing machine and a separate tumble dryer. So those three, just like a tiny reference of example, you've got three uses for three different lifestyles. So someone will then have various different like work requirements that just tailors them. Is and like adding in a like commercial grade Wi-Fi system, opting for the highest speed, having an Ethernet port in each room, so gamers love it. It's just all these little things like having coded door handles and a front door key, so if a tenant gets locked out, another tenant can let them in, but they can still get into their room. There's just loads of little things that we've tweaked along the way that I think
Yeah.
put us into a no-brainer, because if you've got one little thing that a tenant is wants to change about the house. That could be personal preference. But if you've got lots of that mount up, it could push them to move out. So we just try and iron out all of those things. So living in one of our houses should be the easiest it could possibly be, and there should be no reason to then move, unless you're looking for something else, like buying a house or looking for a single let flat.
How about design wise? What else would make you stand out from your competition?
Do you have kitchenettes? Do you do like a proper interior design? Is it like not just
No.
pendant from IKEA, white spaces and cheap furniture from Facebook Marketplace?
And size as well.
Yeah, no, we try to make it as it's a balance of obviously making it as commercially viable as possible, like having from a cost perspective, like LVT flooring that has a 25-year guarantee. So it's easy to use.
So it's a laminate floor that is hard to break and that's cheap to
Yeah,
put in and has a lot of warranty and life in it and looks
yeah,
decent.
it's effective.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's effectively like a tile or like a floorboard, but it's laminate vinyl, so you can heat a strip up and take it up. It looks good. It's hardware, and you can move sofas on it, fridges on it, and it's just things like that. Like that will last 25 years, and it makes the obviously running of the building a lot easier. Like grey spec carpet, so stains aren't easily visible. It's everything right down to those sort of level of details, and you've got from a commercial perspective, but then also, like I said, we like everything to be a house and have a house feel. So we try to make that feel as very housey as, but like when you go in a big student house and you can just tell from a kitchen that is a student house. We try and make it almost feel like a family home, but it's for young professionals. So which I think allows us to charge a premium rent within the area that we operate in, or areas that we operate in, just because it has that homely feel.
Okay, so yeah, speaking about pricing, so how do you set your prices up? You obviously focus on Oxfordshire. That has, the area has a lot to do with it. It sounds that the quality of your rooms and your interior design is quite. Are you saying is it more like homely or more like high end, or do you find the balance? What is I haven't actually seen your rooms. I need to have a look at your design.
You have to come and have a look at
Yeah.
some.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest problems with a lot of HMO investors that we see out there is they paint all of the skirting boards and architraves a really heavy dark colour that's going to go out of fashion quite quickly. It's very aggressive and peacocking in some description. But what they forget, someone's got to live there. There's got to be practicality. So we try and keep fairly basic tones across the house, but then finish off the artwork and the soft furnishing with trendy colours. So at the moment, pastel-y sort of burnt oranges and pinks and are in, but we can adapt our property quite heavily just from a soft furnishing and a marketing photo perspective and bring it a new lease of life. We're quite detailed on like practicality, as Rob's mentioned, but price point, the market's going to pay what the market wants for something. Our average room rate is probably about 800 to 825 per bed. We have a mix of en suites and off suites and shared bathrooms. We like having a blend because if you show a tenant that's a really good fit around a property but they can't afford it, you might have another room that's available for them, and vice versa if they want an en suite. But I think all of our problems that we've discussed, it's all about like dilution of the problem. If you've got enough rooms, you can kind of charge what you want. And also you don't need to worry so much about the voids.
Just a question. When you change the layout and you've got a choice of squeezing one extra room or keeping less rooms but more spacious, what's your choice?
Room's your revenue. So
But it might take longer to find a tenant. So
And they will be moving out quicker.
and they'll be moving out quicker.
I mean, it depends on
How
realistically. I
small
think
it
if you, yeah, I think that's the key thing, and there's a lot of different things that come into it. Whether you're putting 2 new bathrooms in for a 6 bed, or you've then got and two are en suite or whatever, and then you've got one or two bathrooms for 7 people. I think there is a balancing act, but realistically, like Jack said, it's the lettable rooms are what's going to make it stack in the first place. So as long as it stacks, I think you want as much amenable space within the house, but also like shared facilities or individual washing facilities are obviously key as well. So it depends what you're swapping it out for, I think.
I mean, the reason why I'm asking is often you see some amazing HMOs developers, and I've been watching this guy on YouTube, and they've got this amazing design and beautiful HMOs, but the rooms are tiny. You've got the minimum requirement.
Yes, you do. But like, guys, do you ever do like single rooms, or do you always go for like a minimal requirement, double size?
Yeah, we have probably one or two which are the very minimum, but we generally try to have a larger bedroom space because that's where people are really paying for it.
I'm not sure if Maggie has seen our sui generis like architectural drawings, but
I've seen them.
in 9 bedrooms you have like only doubles, and you have 3 kitchens, and you have 3 washing machines, 3 dryers, and a big ass living room. So I think we'll be fine. And 8 bathrooms, so you're probably all right.
It's just the size of the room. I was just wondering.
Yeah.
But then, like that does work for some people. Like I think, like Jack said, it's always good to, like when we were very early on, and we would have one ensuite room, that's a large ensuite room, and it's more premium, in terms of rent. You would get a steady flow of people looking for something that's way more affordable. Because, like for example, if someone's works during the week and then goes and stays with their parents or girlfriend or whatever on the weekends, they don't care. They just want the smallest room possible, and it's painful losing those sort of tenants. So there is price does sell everything. So I think having a blend is good.
It's like the Ryanair owner. He said, "I'm going to release flights where people can stand up," and everyone was like, "You can't do that. No one's going to want to stand up on a flight." And his answer was, "I'll do it. It will be cheaper tickets, and they'll be the first one to be sold." So it's kind of like you. Sometimes you can try and influence too much of what you would want, your bedroom to look like. When people, to give you an example, one of my employees was moving house, and I was like, let us help you. He lives in a HMO locally to us. Let us help you find something. And he just said, "I'll just take the cheapest room available," and that didn't matter. He didn't even need to see it. That's the one he was going for. So that attitude, everyone's different in the market space, and you can't cater for everyone. If you're trying to please everyone, you'll please no one.
True. But with Ryan, it's like maybe Elon Musk will buy it and put a Ryan in charge, so who knows? Like an actual Ryan. Have you seen it? That was funny. And guys, like, how crazy do you go when it comes to your fitting in the rooms and living rooms with premium amenities, with details? Like a few examples of like what's in my head. Do you put cushions in? Do you put some linen, like a one set of linen, bed ready for the tenant to move in? Or is it just like a bare mattress? Do you put like throws and pillows? Do you have like a good looking art, featured walls? Do you go to that length? Does every room have a desk and chair or wardrobe? Or is it like more hotel-like sometimes when you don't have space? In living room, do you have like big ass screens or a PlayStation or something like, that makes it even more fun and appealing? Or is it like just more practical and basic, but still good quality? What do you do?
Yeah, I would say, so to start with like the bedrooms, like Jack said, we do keep it, I would say quite neutral from almost like an industry perspective, because a lot of people are going crazy on it. And we just, obviously we're long term, so we just want something that is reliable, and that basically is right. We want it to look clean, professional, nice, feel like a really nice space, but it doesn't need to be too loud in our eyes. We're more like a balance of functional and design. So like ottoman beds and everywhere, so people can store suitcases under their beds. We do spend a bit more budget on mattresses. We get really good feedback about the mattresses. It's more just things like it can look great, but if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So like living spaces, good sofas. Sometimes we've used the 3D laser cut sofas, so they're like maximizing the space, and they just slot together. We always provide TVs, some space to eat, but just generally, I think realistically, I don't think you need to go too crazy. It just needs to be a really good use of the space and
Give me
easy
an
to live
example.
in.
So imagine that you have a room that is like from the build point, from the construction point, it's done. So you have white walls, new plasters, you have brand new, beautiful, high quality carpets. You have either like good looking pendants, or you have these spotlights. It's done. Okay. What is your budget to furnish the room from start to finish?
And what do you include in it, right?
Yeah, like including paint, including, wardrobes and bed and mattress and everything.
I would say it's about. I mean, I'd say we target sort of about £1,000 per bed, and that includes kitchen spaces. So a kitchen
That
and living
means, okay,
spaces.
so you have kitchen
So
spaces in your room
it'll
as well.
probably range. No. So that includes the communal space. So I would say it's between 800 to 1,200 per bedroom across the entire house. So if you
Okay.
basically lifted the house up, turned it upside down, everything that fell out, that is that budget.
Right. Okay. So it sounds like there won't be cushions, there won't be extra bits and pieces. It will be more of a
No.
basic kind of. Okay.
Yeah, we
more
literally
practical.
just do.
Practical.
So like a bedroom would be mattress, bed, bedside table. We often have people asking us to take desks out, because if you get like a gamer, they want their own desks. So we have,
Right.
within a house, we'll probably order 2 or 3 desks max, and then if anyone wants one, we'll then put one in, and we just use it as a point within the viewing. Like if you want this, we'll provide it for you.
That's a
So
great point.
it's more of a, because then you've got to pay to store it if someone wants it taken out. So we want it to just like we've said earlier, it just needs to be as lean as possible, really. And I think if you
Great
can
point.
show that you're
Rob, real question then. Real question, because like we all come from the service accommodation background, right? So for us, like we are also interior designers as well, and quite good ones. I want everything to be 10 out of 10, perfect, smashing, beautiful, amazing, to the point where people come in and they stand in the room, look at it and say, fuck, it's so nice. I want to live here. It's like, it's stunning. It's shocking, right? That's me. So I want people to feel that when they come into my Airbnb. And now we are transferring this design language into the HMO, where we take like the most natural, light, and just like a normal room with no crazy colors, with no craziness, but still there is like a wooden featured wall in every room. There is like a monochrome white and very subtle, but there is a mural in every room. We have like beautiful Ottoman beds with beautiful headboard and tons of storage inside and high quality mattress in it. And then like wooden and rattan furniture that fits in the room so nicely. And in my head, every room would be pretty much identical. So every room would have a half size, like, the ponytail wardrobe, and a desk with 2 drawers, and a nice, good, comfortable chair, and a nice Ottoman velvet bed, and a beautiful art, and a monochrome, a beautiful mural, and the wooden features, and premium spotlights, and metal switches and sockets and stuff like this. So are we going too crazy?
How much per?
1,500 per room is like a typical standard of what we spend.
Now the question is,
where are they?
but the rooms are not going to be very, very big, right?
No, all of them, they are double. We don't have a single room now. All of them are double.
I think it's more. I guess if you're looking at it as a percentage of the total expenditure versus the rent, if you can justify that as an uplift in the value of rent, then it makes sense. And if you're
I
like,
don't think
for
we'll
example,
be able to more rent, to be honest. So even without this premium features, if we keep it like simpler but still very beautiful and good quality, I think the rent would still be, let's say, 625. I don't think it's going to change. Maybe it will be easier for someone to make a decision on the spot, like, oh, this is so stunning, I really want to have it today. But like long term, I don't think it's going to have like a massive impact. So I would consider having like £300 lost on every room because of my craziness.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, it depends. If you're first in line on spare room, and someone sees your rooms and then they click on you and they come and view you first, then it's worth it. So I think it's ultimately just thinking about the
Okay.
end user, to be honest.
Let's be
So
thinking about it, guys.
I haven't seen them, so
What
I
did you
can't comment on it. But
It
I
almost
like
sounds like you go ahead.
I do think that if you're going to get it back and it's going to let the room quicker, then do it. And if it's within the budget and within your within what you expect as a return from the deal, I feel like, yeah, if you want it to look a certain way, then and you think it's going to sell and reduce voids and let the rooms
Yeah, I like
quicker.
it.
It's worth it. You want to be the cream of the crop, really. That's
But
ultimately where you want to
we
be.
will still rock the idea of like not fully furnishing everything. So we probably will always like have a few desks in stock with our contractors, and if someone like wants it really, then we will deliver it. But for
I
smaller
mean,
rooms, we'll
the
probably
desk is a different story to wall features and
of
capex
course, of
on things
course.
that people might not even like. A desk is an asset to the room that someone can use, whether they want to put their own lamps and throws and rugs and their own duvet covers and pillows and things in the room is a slightly different. We obviously do have feature walls and details, but we don't overkill it. I mean, what does it cost for someone to paint a wall? That's good enough. Yeah, I think it's obviously the cross between what does your bedroom look like at home against what does a hotel room look like against what does a single let flat looks like. You kind of need to merge all of it together, because if you went and rented a single let flat, there's going to be no design features. It's just going to be magnolia paint everywhere and a crap kitchen. So we're being the product up from that, but obviously there's going to be wear and tear. There's going to be fashion and design changes that come into play. There's going to be people's tastes as well. You can't necessarily predict someone's tastes. They might walk in and go, looks
Let's
really
face it, most
cool.
people
And
they don't have any taste.
yeah, that's it.
So do you find your tenants they want to put their own design kind of in place?
Yeah,
So
I
do
mean, I'm not saying
they
we let them.
The walls.
exactly?
No, not really.
We
But then
had one that
I
did,
think,
though.
yeah, and it looks really good.
It looks so much better.
It does.
I went in for a property check, and I was like, "Wow, that actually looks a lot better." We did not know that was going to happen, but it looks so much better. But this was in a rent to
What
rent.
color was it?
They've gone for like dark green. It looks really good. I sent it to our team, and we had a laugh about it. But he's done a really good job of it. But realistically, if someone said, "Can I paint this?" I'd say no. So
Thank you guys for that. We are gonna have to process it, right?
Yeah, of course, of course.
Make our decision.
Yeah. Okay. So I think like we've discussed like most of the technicalities that I wanted to discuss. Let's have like one last technical question. This one will be for you, Jack. So if you could talk us through quickly, maximum like 2-3 minutes, the entire process of purchasing a HMO, planning on a HMO if required, and developing a HMO. Because after that, we've discussed the design, we've discussed finding tenants, rents, competition, all of that stuff, but we haven't heavily discussed the first few parts of the process. So go on.
Yeah, sure. So we're not really that fussed about what we buy. Location's quite important. We find houses that have compromised gardens, therefore not fit for purpose for families, or in very central locations, suit us best because the families aren't drawn towards them. We are. We typically focus on buying on a low pound per square foot rate, or alternatively low room rate. So when I look at a 3-bedroom house and I think it could be a 6-bedroom house, I divide 6 by the purchase price to see what purchase price per room we can get to. And that's a really quick way to analyze the deals. But most of our sites have got compromised gardens, are completely wrecked or run down, and we have to, almost not mortgageable. I like buying buildings that have already had the loft converted, because there's a big capex of between £40,000 and £50,000 to get that space if you haven't already had it done. And I don't
find
think
it, Jack, like is it cheaper generally to buy a house with a loft conversion done, or is it cheaper to buy a cheaper house and do the loft conversion yourself?
I think it's in Oxfordshire where we're based. I don't think people market properties with the value that the loft should be adding. So I think it's cheaper to buy with one done. We've bought 3 houses on the same road, and the houses with lofts against the houses that don't have lofts don't differ too much in price point.
That's crazy.
So yeah, get the thing bought that way. We typically structure it with either our own capital or investors' capital, to buy it with a like a refurbishment facility with a development lender like Octane. We're typically basing our numbers on the purchase price and comfortable with the numbers at up to 6 beds or what it can offer. We've got 4 beds and 5 beds across our portfolio. So if that's the number we can get in, that's how we base our price point. If it is a massive house and we can get more out of it, we will then base our numbers off the 6 bed, but then go in for sui generis planning application along the side while actually building out a 7 or an 8 bed while the planning application comes through. If you don't get it, you could obviously revert that to a study, but we've been fortunate that we've got a 100% success rate of sui applications. We then just start cracking on with the work. So as far as design goes, we don't typically even get an architect involved, really. We do all the design plans in-house. We do an M&E plan. We do obviously design plans for feature walls and various things like that. We do a kitchen plan specifically for the kitchen. We let the contractor determine layouts of en-suites and where the sort of white goods go. When you are, top tip, when you are viewing houses, make sure you mark up where all the meters and the wastes go, because that is quite an important thing when you're putting in a load of ensuite bathrooms or bathrooms. And then we typically do a fixed price contract with the main contractor, who's a guy that we've used on a lot of ours and more local to us. We have managed packages of trades and managed ourselves. We've got a main contractor to do it. It's definitely the best way for scale is to get a main contractor to do it. We're typically spending about £20,000 to £22,000 per bed, not including abnormals. Abnormals might be loft conversion, rear extension, side extension. But our base build cost is about 20 to 22k a bed. And yeah, we typically do everything. So rewire, replumb, fit a mega flow tank. We typically do wet, hot water systems. We, as Rob mentioned, kitchen wise, we've got 2 kitchen suppliers. One's Howden's, one's another German made manufacturer. It just sort of depends who's got good incentives going at the same time.
So the German one, is it more expensive than Howden's?
What's the name?
It's similar price point. MAS.
So you are putting very expensive kitchens. Howden's is very expensive.
Yeah,
even with 40%.
They're better quality, much better quality.
That's interesting. So, Mens, like you say, like your development budget is up to £22,000 per room. So if you have, like, let's say, I don't know, like 9 rooms, the budget would be like 200k to renovate the entire property, and that includes new plumbing, new electric stuff, back to brick proper development, and Howden's kitchen at the same time for 200k.
That's back to brick reno all the way to point of letting,
and not doesn't include loft extensions, back extensions, any abnormalities.
No abnormals. So if you need to, do some new build elements to it or do something that's abnormal, that's just shell cost.
Would you include, like, I don't know, like changing your half of the windows inside the house as an abnormal?
Yeah, that's an abnormal. It's things that not every house will have alike. So essentially, if you've got to re-roof it, if you've got to do some structural remediation, if you've got to do an extension, if you've got to replace the windows, if you've got to do new driveway, if you've got to re-landscape the garden, they're abnormals that are not same with different houses. But as base build cost goes, once you've got a shell, so let's say you've got through all the abnormals and you've got a shell. From that shell back to brick reno, 2 point of letting is about 20k a bed.
Okay.
And when I talk about,
that's a very good price, to be honest. That's a very good price.
Yeah, we're quite intricate with how we just do things sensibly. So various different things and rules that we have with our design patterns to ensure that the first fix and second fix is logical. And one of our slight problems is we're adapting a lot of old buildings. Oxfordshire's, quite an old area that we've delivered grade 2 listed HMOs. We've delivered buildings that are quite quirky where, there's not a lot of windows, or it's a very skinny house, or it's a very flat house, or it's an upside down house. So we've kind of done all the things above. So we we take every house as a drawing board to work from, but that's typically how we analyze our costs.
Amazing.
Yeah, very amazing.
I would say
And I thought my
that's
Romanians
also.
are cheap.
I was just going to say, I would say that I think that because we're quite dialed down on the build, that's obviously stacked from the off. So we're looking at things where we can tactically minimize that as much as possible. So like Jack said, if something needs a new roof, that's just going to be negotiated in the purchase price. So it's realistically quite controllable when you're offering from the offset, and we know exactly how much we're going to be spending roughly in terms of rooms. But so I think it's quite like you say, it's reasonable. But when you think of it, when you're stacking it from the offset, it's easy to stick to that.
And I think that is the key difference between you guys and some other newbies, because I know how Jack is amazing when it comes to negotiating the deal. And for someone who hasn't seen our previous podcast, go and have a listen. But that is such a key element of the purchase, right? Because if you're from the outset, overlook that, and then you set your contingency for what? What's your contingency? Is it 30%?
Oh, wow, 30 is a lot. What's your
20?
contingency, real one?
Yeah,
About 10, isn't it?
it's realistically, like sort of 5 to 10%. Annoyingly, banks want to see 10% now, but we don't really have.
Oh yeah, because ours is different, right?
We put in a
Our
rough
contracts
build
are different.
Yeah.
I mean, our build costs are between sort of 120 to our cheapest renovation cost for a 5-bed HMO, 5-bed, 5-bath was 50 grand, and that's because it was a very new build house. But then you don't get the value that you've added to it on the refinance. So, when your build cost is between 50 and 250k, like a 50k overrun doesn't really impact us that much. Whereas if you looked at that as a 50% contingency on a development, that is, breaking the project, which is also why houses are good, because when you've got a few projects going on, they sort of just all roll into one pipeline.
Yeah, but also in order to negotiate, you need to be aware of certain things. So having some sort of defect in the roof, having a good contractor or someone who can assess those things at the beginning, right? Because that's where things could go wrong. And if you don't get that deal across, then you obviously need to pay extra that would eat into your contingency and so on and so on. And then you've got that knock-on effect, which you don't really want to have. So, and obviously you don't want to then learn the hard way, like some people might.
Like
so that's why I just wanted to just really stress that point that, if you can assess the property really well and then speak to to the purchaser and get the price down from the very beginning. That is the key, right?
Easier said than done.
I agree.
You need to open up the property to know.
But then if you're really good in negotiating like Jack is, right, then and you get a few deals across like that, and then you count the amount of savings you can get is huge.
That's not the only huge thing, but where the Jack's strength comes in, I think, is like the experience in purchasing, the ability to just fuck off, turn your back and move to a different deal, and volume, right? So you just like constantly build a pipeline, and then you quickly have a mechanism to stack it up to understand if any of these deals is worth pursuing. If it is, you offer your price. If it's accepted, fine. If it's not accepted, fine, you move on and find a different project, right? So that's the volume. So what people, typically newbies, expect is to go on the market for a day or two or a week, view 1 or 2 or 3 properties, and then make a purchase decision based on that without having a proper pipeline or experience or expectations when it comes to like how much they should or would pay for it. So that's my understanding. Okay, boys. So that's all the technical stuff. Now, what is the most overrated HMO advice?
You've got to operate in areas where there's a university and a train station.
What is the mostly underrated HMO advice?
Also, I'd say on your last point, only the yields up north are the only ones that work.
Yeah, or you only get double-digit yields up north, which we've proven wrong in Oxford. Yeah. We're in
But like
we're
generally,
in
it's like
Queen's country getting double-digit yields and not having to worry about getting stabbed while we're walking between our two properties.
no, so true. I shouldn't laugh, but yeah, so true. Do you guys agree that it makes more sense to invest in more expensive areas as the build cost is the same and the rent is higher?
Not necessarily. We're in a we're in a yield strategy, right? So we're looking on room rents paying into investment. So it's not as strong, but I personally believe that if you're moving into real estate for 20, 30 years, I would almost back myself to run the numbers on our portfolio and prove that capital appreciation and cash flow will outperform any yields that you get up north.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
Anything good about North, like York, for example? For me, when I think about North, and I think about the good thing is the Yorkshire pudding. I really like it. Does it come
Yeah,
from
I
York?
think that's about as far as it goes, if I'm honest. I
I
mean,
think
No, it's
I'm
great
trying to
to.
convince Trump to build a wall between the south and the north.
Don't feed him with these ideas, man.
No,
I think my point on it is it kind of leads into the most undervalued HMO advice, which is invest in areas that you know, because there's so many people trying to chase yields in areas that they don't know. They don't have contacts in the area. They don't have any sort of relevance or any sort of link to the area. When you could look at somewhere down your road and you look at a deal, you kind of know if you're in property whether you're in it or not, you know what that house would be worth. So you'd know if it was a good deal and you would know if it would let. So I think there's just so much noise around picking somewhere because everyone else says it's good. I think if you do your DD on it and you're interested in property, you're going to know if it's a good deal or not. Like you guys, if someone said here's a deal for an SA in like a really random location, and you found one near you, and it supposedly didn't tick the boxes that would be considered a good area, you would still do it because you know it's a good area. So I think it's just,
Mhm.
and then obviously you're managing something that is just down the road. I think it's just, yeah. I think that for me, that's the key point is investing where you're actually familiar with.
No, it's a really good point, actually.
Of course it is.
Yeah. Right, guys. So just lastly, we are on time, right? Would you advise someone to start HMO in 2026, or would you rather say no, stay away from it,
Go to Dubai.
go to Dubai? Love your life. No time.
Yeah, I like HMOs, so I would. I think I'm obviously we've got developments and HMOs and flips. Flips we haven't actually touched on much in this podcast, but I think if you want a good recurring, I don't think anyone should do. I always say this. I don't think anyone should do HMOs unless they're wanting to do more than 5. I think you're going to build a skill set and an automated process for something that needs to be scaled. And you get more benefits with scale, such as in-house management. You can manage more rooms per person and so on and so forth. And also you learn on every project. So a lot of the design stuff that we're talking about, we learn throughout, every project is a learning curve. And Rob talking about the washer dryer and having separate machines, you learn that as you go through and delivering more. And that's why growth and volume creates the best product. But I think it's a great asset class to be investing in. I think it's in huge demand. The first-time buyer age is going up and up. The cost of living is going up and up, and we're actually more cost-effective than renting a single bed flat by
a massive margin, right?
But
By a
yeah,
massive margin.
a single let flat in our town where we live today is about £1,800, including all bills. We're charging 875 for a nicer spec, larger communal living space, high-end room, all in. They can leave when they want, they can move when they want, etc. So yeah.
HMO is not as a bad deal as people they have it in their heads, because like typically when you ask a random person about the HMO, they'll think about the rundown piece of shit asset with like crap communal spaces, small bedrooms, cramped, overstressed, but that's not what we do, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
premium HMOs are still amazing.
Thankfully,
I really want
I
to
also
watch it now.
You want to talk about flips now? Well,
But not now, no, because I've always been very intrigued because you always say, I'm not interested. But that will be maybe for another time.
I do think HMOs are, yeah, I mean, I was just going to say, I mean, flips are really good for us because I think it also depends on what you want, because building an HMO portfolio is very cash intensive. But obviously it pays you well. It's got a good cash flow, like Jack said. So I think if you're looking for those things, I think there's a good opportunity. But you do need to have the right advice. Like you say, you need to have good build advice, a builder that you trust, or have that in house. And with the reform, you need to be working with a managing agent that is aware of that, or someone that knows it within your business. So I think if you can tick those boxes, I think it's a good option, and I think there's a lot of opportunity.
How much money do you leave? How much of your own capital or your investors' capital do you leave in every single project that you build? Assume 6-bedroom HMOs.
25, 75k.
It changes, but yeah.
25, 27k you leave in a project. So after you buy a shithole, you add this 20 to 22k per room development costs, anomalies, windows, extensions, stuff like this.
25 to 70.
25 to 70k.
70k left in, yeah, on a bricks and mortar valuation. We've never spent more than what it's worth at the end. That's a key tip. A lot of people, and that's why I don't really agree with the North, they're spending more than something's worth at the end from a bricks and mortar perspective. So by the time we've refinanced every project, we've always spent less. Total costs go on your balance sheet, work in progress, and then we refinance. And what our typical model is, we either self-fund it or we actually fund the cash left in at the end. So if we're buying a HMO, we need to have 50k available within a year. We then pay down the investor, replace the investor's positions, that we're getting the 30% return on our cash left in the asset, plus the management, plus the room rents, etc.
Cool. And that makes tons of sense. Yeah. Guys, as always, it's amazing to hear from you. Your extensive experience is something that's inspiring the entire UK development market. So thank you very much for your insight, for donating your time. It's absolutely smashing to have you, especially knowing that both of you are so extremely busy and that your time is valuable and expensive. So I'm even more grateful for your time. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Bye.